Who are you accountable to? It's quite easy, I think, to be glib about this, Who am I accountable to? You're not really accountable to anybody, are you? Right, as a business owner. And I imagine myself posting this on Facebook, and having people respond in the comments and say things like, only to God, or only to myself, or only to my family, and things like that. So for clarity's sake, that's not really what I mean, right? Who are you accountable to specifically for doing your jobs? That's what I want to talk about. When you're the boss, you're not really accountable to anybody, are you? Because you're the boss. You can do the things or not do the things, the jobs, and there's no one really making sure you do them or, holding you to account for whether you've done them or not. Nobody's coming up to you going, have you done your jobs? You're certainly accountable for your results, aren't you? We all are. If business doesn't go so well, or if it stagnates, you'll know about it, you'll feel the result, and you'll feel accountable then, I'm sure. But back to doing the things, right? Generally speaking, there's nobody holding you accountable for doing the jobs, doing the things you need to do, specifically the things you need to do to make your business better. And that's really why this is important. There's certain things you need to be doing to improve your business. You can carry on doing the same old shit, but if you want to make your business better, there's other things you need to be doing. And often, it's those things we need to do, right, if we want to get those results. It's called procrastination. It does have a name, right? And it's the tendency to do the tasks we like, or that are easy, or in our comfort zone, or urgent, rather than the tasks that we don't like, or that are outside our comfort zone, or that we can get away with deferring until tomorrow or the next day, without an immediate consequence. An example is making a sales call. That's an example. There's plenty of others. Lots of my business coaching clients work business to business, right? And one way they can do marketing is to call other businesses up and build relationships. I call it relationship marketing. They need to do that. They need to call people up, build a relationship, ask for work, that kind of thing. Builders can be calling architects. Construction subcontractors can be calling builders. Electricians and plumbers and property maintenance people, the maintenance guys, can be calling property managers and strata managers. So, a lot of your work, not all of it, but a lot of your work is gained by calling people up. You might need to do calling. So this can go on, I'm sure. I don't want to do that to death. I want to focus on the accountability. Now, that work you might be chasing, if you like, by building those relationships, might not be short term. You might not be getting a job tomorrow. You might be investing in a fairly long-term opportunity for business. So that makes it very easy to defer. Nothing happens if you put it off till tomorrow. But if you keep putting it off, you miss out on an important opportunity to grow your business, right? You end up not growing next year or not growing in 6 months. Now, accountability for doing those tasks, in our example, those calls, is a useful tool for us to use to make us do it. So how can you bring some accountability onto yourself for doing those jobs that you don't want to do or that you'll defer or avoid if you don't have some accountability, if you don't bring yourself some accountability? Because remember, no one else is going to do that. No one else is going to hold you accountable. How do you help yourself do these uncomfortable, deferrable, but important jobs? Now, there are a few tricks we can play on ourselves, and tricks is a good word for it, right? We can't make the jobs more urgent. We can only change how we feel about them and make ourselves behave differently. The first thing is to acknowledge the importance of the job, even though it's not necessarily urgent, right? You can write it down, and you can write down the negative consequence of failing to do it, of failing to get to it. And that kind of makes it more real. It crystallizes it in your mind. The next thing you can do is you can schedule a time in your calendar to do it. And right when you get the reminder in your calendar to do it, you need to do it. The challenge is, of course, that it's very easy to get to the allotted time and still not do the thing, to persuade yourself that whatever you're currently doing is more important, or that you can't stop, or that you really must prioritize this thing, and you defer it anyway, even though you've had a reminder in your calendar. Now remember, it's you and it's your brain that are the enemy here, right? You basically don't want to do it. So we've brought in a little bit of accountability by putting it in your calendar, by writing it down, put some accountability to yourself. But accountability is stronger if you're accountable to somebody else. We talked about somebody holding you accountable before, didn't we? Stronger if it's somebody else, right, that you're accountable to. Stronger still if you're accountable to a group. It's much more embarrassing to admit that you didn't do your thing that you said you were going to do to a bunch of your peers than it is to one person. So that's important. So get someone else involved to hold you accountable. Your business coach, of course, if you've got one, right? That's part of my job. I'll hold you accountable and I'll ask you if you did your thing and try and make you feel bad if you didn't. So you can do that if you're working with us in our one-on-one calls or in our group sessions, and you can use the power of the group to do that there. You won't like admitting to a group of your peers, other trades, business owners, that you're the guy who didn't get to it, who didn't make your calls or do your jobs. You won't, trust me. But the other thing you can do is you can engage someone in your business, your partner, your business partner, your assistant, your wife or husband or whatever, if they can help. Someone who can check in on you at the time you put in your calendar and say, shouldn't you be doing whatever it is now? Shouldn't you be doing your calls now? That's very useful. Aren't you supposed to be doing whatever it is? Okay, they can check in on you at the time, and they can check in on you half an hour or an hour later and say, did you do it? Now that immediacy part is very important. Immediate accountability is the way that's most likely to make you stop whatever you were doing, that presumably is more enjoyable, and do the new thing. So do that. That's the trick. I've made an accountability checklist. So if you want to grab that, say, hold me accountable, and I'll sling it your way. And I'll tell you a quick fun story. Matt is a builder. He's in our group, and he needs to call architects to get business in. And he's been deferring and procrastinating and not doing it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And he did exactly this. He engaged his wife and he engaged his admin person, bookkeeper, and said to both of them, I'm going to do this calling at 9 o'clock on Tuesday. And they both got up him at 9 o'clock on Tuesday and said, are you doing it? And they both said they'd be checking in with him again at 10 o'clock or whenever. And they did. And he did the calls. He made the calls and he got some appointments and he's progressed his business and he's got some opportunities to get involved in. So do it. Say, hold me accountable. I'll send you the checklist. Use it on yourself.